that I was thinking of this. They could also solve the problem by flavoring the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And like giving you an option. Do you want ranch? Do you want all dressed?
It's pretty.
Do you want
It's a
dill?
pretty bland.
It's
serving.
super bland.
Donuts got you guys all out of focus.
See that?
Welcome, everybody. If you want to see Donut's ass take up the entire screen, you can go to YouTube and watch our Feel Good Friday. We hanging out, we doing it, and I'm going to start off with a letter, guys.
Sweet.
I don't know if you remember, but a little while back, I think you were here when we did this. We were talking about the body of Christ.
Yeah. I saw this. I saw this email.
I'm so conditioned to say that because, like, when I received the body of Christ in
You said
church,
amen.
yeah, you have to say it after they go, the body of Christ, and they do some.
My favorite part of Mass
thing.
was the peace be with you.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh, when
you know
you
what my
like
favorite.
You give peace to everyone around you. Like,
Yeah,
peace be with
right.
you. Peace be with
Yeah.
you. Peace be with you.
You know what my favorite version of my favorite incarnation of Christianity is?
What's that?
The one in Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. So blessed be the fruit.
Praise be.
You would say that, Taylor. I'm sure Kyla feels good about that too. So we got a letter from a lovely listener named Jasmine. And we had recently done an episode with our friend Olivia, and Olivia has a feeding tube, and we were talking about like receiving the body of Christ. How do you do that when you have a feeding tube? Because you can't just eat. She has to take her food through a tube in her nose, into her belly.
Mm-hmm.
So Jasmine wrote in and said, "Hey boys, I just listened to your episode with Olivia where she talked about her feeding tube and not being able to take the Eucharist at Mass. The Eucharist is the body of Christ. It's the little cracker. Jesus' skin. Yum, yum, yum. I actually looked into this for my job a while ago, so I can tell you that the Canadian and American conferences of Catholic bishops address this specific issue. Here's their guidelines. Holy Communion cannot be given through a feeding tube, but either the bread or the wine counts. So the suggestion is just a couple of drops of wine on the person's tongue. That's enough to have the completed sacrament. She said, here's the link to the document for reference and to prove that I'm not making this shit up. Never thought this would be relevant to anyone outside my job, but there you go. Keep up the good work, Jasmine.
Hey, can I ask? Go ahead, Bri.
I was gonna say, another way that I was thinking of this because I was just eating a bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
And I had put dill seasoning on it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking
the body of Christ with a little bit of dandruff.
Well, yeah. So if they could also solve the problem by flavoring the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And like giving you an option. Do you want ranch? Do you want all dressed?
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bland.
It's
serving.
super bland.
You know what? It was, but I kind of liked it. I did.
But I was gonna say
I did like that cracker. But if that was a thing, if Christ was like, if Christ came back, right?
Oh, I thought you were saying if that was the thing, if it was flavored.
Yeah, no, that I'm going
okay.
there.
Okay.
No, Christ, but something far more realistic, like Christ coming back.
Christ comes back, right?
Right.
Because that's,
well, we
one
expect
day,
it.
One day we're expecting that to happen. Christ is going to come back. When he comes back, do you think he's going to be like, guys, look, you've been doing this a long time, and I know like our numbers are dropping off. So I was listening to this podcast up in heaven called Sick Boy.
The brand is hurting.
One of the guys had a really good idea.
Fave show, by the way.
Why don't we flavor my shit? What do you think Jesus would be like? Because I actually wrote a play in high school, and it was about this guy who dies and goes to heaven, or at least he thinks he's going to heaven. He gets to the pearly gates, and St. Peter is like, all right, cool. We just got to watch this VHS tape, which is all the things you did in your life, and just make sure that you're good to go. If you didn't sin, you can come in. So they go through the whole video, and the video is done. And the guy's like, all right, I'm in. And St. Peter's like, actually, you're not. And he's like, whoa, what? I didn't sin. Like, we went through that whole thing my whole life. I didn't sin. Where did I sin? He's like, well, you're right. Like, you didn't sin. And the times that you did sin, you did seek forgiveness. But there was one thing, and it's actually not on the list. You're not allowed to suck your own dick. And this guy sucked his own dick. And that was like the ultimate sin that didn't allow him into heaven.
I felt like that play had legs for a sec until.
It did. It actually got produced at Acadia. during a one act play theater festival. It was very funny. But the reason why you can't get into heaven if you suck your dick is because all the apostles, they could all suck their own dicks. But Jesus was the only guy out of the gang that couldn't suck his own dick. And he was so sour about it that when he got up to heaven, he was like, my dad's place, my rules. Anyone who sucked their own dick, if they could while we were on earth, you can't do it anymore. And anybody who sucks their dick from here on out is not allowed through these gates.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say that he turned away all the apostles, but it was
no. He let them. He was like, from
okay.
here on out, you boys, like my crew. I gotta roll with my crew, but like you guys can't be sucking your own dicks anymore.
So Jesus was
jealous.
just extremely spiteful.
He was, and he likes to have things his own way, right? So he
Right.
comes back to Earth, right, and he's like, look, Brian had a really good idea. We should flavor this shit, but based on my Jesus, that Jesus is gonna be like, but there's only one flavor we can do. What do you think is the flavor that Jesus is putting on that sacrament?
He seems like a
dill pickle.
fucking. He seems like a he
I
kinda
see where
seems
you're
like
going
a
there. That's
fucking
good.
ketchup guy to me. You know, like kind of lame.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have an answer? Oh, I thought you had an
Me?
answer.
No,
to
I
this.
don't know. I was just, but if you have one, folks, letters at sickboypodcast.com. What kind of flavor would Christ want his body to be?
I wanted to say that it would be like if you added the flavoring for somebody who had a feeding tube, they would have to do is take the cracker bag that has all the cracker Eucharist in it, and then just like go like this, and have the flavor dust go up in the air. Because you know, how, like
Right.
it just like if you put your face over the bag and
Yeah.
inhale, it just like makes you
I-
aspirate.
Yeah.
It makes me aspirate.
I have a question for you guys. It's hard to, as somebody who's not religious and somebody who grew up who was sort of raised until around I was about 10 or so as Catholic, and looking at the like taking of the bread and the wine as the body and the blood of Christ, and thinking now as I sit here as a 31-year-old that's really silly. No offense to anybody who is religious, but what are some of the things, like looking at Christianity, for example, and seeing that's something that they partake in? What do you think are some of the things that we do, like that are sort of ritualistic, that we might not even be super aware of, that somebody who's like Christian might look at us and go, how silly is that? What are they doing?
Sucking our own dicks for sure.
It is weird that we do that. It is weird. I never really thought about it.
Yeah, I've never realized that was weird until you just said
You
that.
know what the best lesson about this, but the only lesson perhaps that we can take away from this first bit is that
Donuts
you
making
talk
you guys
about-
out of
I'm-
focus.
Yeah. Donut, get your asshole out of the camera, dude. Come on.
I'm being dead serious
Come
about
on,
this
get outta
too.
here.
It's funny when you talk about religion, and you say like, if you say things bad about religion or bad about Jesus, even jokingly, to me, I have this like illogical sort of like subconscious secondary response of,
Yeah.
of like guilt. And dude, that's
Really?
past trauma. Like that's the way that like trauma shows up in your life, because, you know, like throughout my childhood, like I went to church, like I got confirmed. I, you know, took the Holy Sacrament or whatever. I don't even know the names for the things, but like I did
took
all
the
that
body.
stuff. And even though I didn't like really believe in it, even when I was doing that and was like, oh, I just have to do this because my parents are making me do it, there's still like a deep part of me
Yeah.
that's like,
Wow.
oh fuck, I can't say anything bad about Jesus or God or joke
That's
around.
wild,
And-
because my pragmatism runs very deep then, because I remember looking back at that, and even as like a 10-year-old going, shut the fuck up.
but I do.
Like, I got
like,
that doesn't fucking matter to me.
I do. I understand that. Like I can intellectually, I understand that, but underneath, emotionally, there's like this, like, oh fuck, I can't feel that way. Like
I do sympathize with the idea that my aunt and my grandmother on my dad's side are like very religious, and I sympathize with the thought of saying like, holy fucking Christ or something like that around them, and that
Right.
and not that I actually really care, but like I do kind of have that thought sometimes if I'm with them, to be like, oh man, they'd be. It kind of almost makes me giggle a little bit that I know that they'd be pissed.
There's a Jay-Z song with the lyrics. I used to listen to it when I was like 17 or 18, doing training, like I would listen to it to pump me up, and one of the lyrics in the song was like, it's middle finger to the Lord, and when I would listen to that, it would pump me up, but simultaneously I would be like, oh fuck,
Shame.
it makes me feel a
The
little
Lord's gonna
guilty,
make me lose
like,
this race.
and not even like it's like leveraging your bets, you know, like to me, there's like a 1 in a million chance that like the story of
Yeah.
God and Jesus are real.
1
but
in
I'm
a
like,
million?
hey, well,
Dude,
Hey,
that's
hey.
way too high of a chance.
Hey, we don't know.
Okay,
We don't
whatever,
know.
whatever. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
my point. Is that
Yeah, I mean, I was in grade 12 and I wrote a play about Jesus sucking his own cock, so I don't think it really rubbed off on me very much. But if it did, I'm just hoping that man up there has a good sense of humor.
I feel so
and-
bad.
And, you know, I don't know. I doubt he was that limber, you know, like.
Don't you think he's the ultimate pragmatist? Like, don't you think that if you got up there, he'd be like, guys, come on. I
get it.
understand.
I get
It's
it.
hard
Yeah.
being down there. It's really hard.
I think what he would say is, wow, man, they made up so many rules that I didn't adhere to.
Yes, that is what he would say. Yeah. He would definitely be like, don't you guys remember I washed the feet of a hooker and you guys made sex work illegal still? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Speaking of putting things in your mouth, this is an article that I was going to get to later, but I think it kind of fits with going next here. There was a paralyzed man. He had ALS, and he communicated the first words in months using a brain implant. This is actually a huge step in terms of communication for people who are quote unquote locked in with illnesses such as ALS. What do you think the first thing that he said was?
Holy shit. Wait,
No.
I don't even know why I said holy shit.
I mean, yeah, it's like the first things he says. He just goes, "Holy shit!"
Sorry, God.
Scratch my nose.
Scratch my nuts. No, he said, "I want a beer."
Oh,
That's my man. That's my fucking guy.
Yeah.
So a completely paralyzed man who was left unable to communicate for months after losing the ability to even move his eyes has used a brain implant to ask his caregivers for a beer. This is coming from B on our Discord. Thank you, B, for submitting this to our Feel Good Friday episode content. And if you want to join the Discord, you can find the link in the show notes. Composing sentences at a rate of just 1 character per minute, the man also asked to listen to the band Tool very loudly. He requested a head massage from his mother and ordered curry, all through the power of thought. The man, who is now 36, had 2 square electrode arrays surgically implanted into his brain to facilitate communication back in March of 2019 after being left in a locked-in state as a result of ALS. People suffering from the progressive neuro...
Can I ask a question there, Jerry?
Yeah.
Is locked in the newer acceptable term that used to, and again, I know that it's a fucking horrible term, but when I was growing up, it was vegetable. Is that is that what locked in is?
I mean, I suppose so. It's like yeah, I guess so.
I feel like vegetables would be more
catatonic. Was that
like
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Locked in is essentially you are you
Like
can't communicate.
you're not
You
moving.
can't speak.
You're not
You're not
communicating,
moving. And actually, like this whole idea of being locked in within ALS, up until recently, I think up until like this moment, there was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Like there was physicians were unsure of whether or not there was even like any cognitive ability. Like, is there thought happening?
I was
in there?
going to say that would be probably like the difference between, I don't know what the better word is too, but between a vegetable and being locked in would be, my thoughts would be whether or not there's a conscious thought happening.
Sure. And we don't say vegetable, obviously.
Yeah, no, but
we
what
say
it,
locked in.
No, but I think there would be, I feel like there are different levels. Like if you have conscious thought versus if you don't have conscious thought.
But even the idea of being locked in is like I don't think we knew if there was actual conscious thought like happening in the brain.
Mm.
So people suffering from the progressive neurodegenerative disease have an average life expectancy after diagnosis of 2 to 5 years. But as we all know, they can live much longer, like Stephen Hawking, who lived another 55 years after his diagnosis. Now, until now, a brain implant has not been tested on a completely locked-in patient. And like I just said, it was not known whether communication was even possible for people who had lost all voluntary muscular control. Quote, ours is the first study to achieve communication by someone who has no remaining voluntary movement, and hence for someone for whom the BCI is now the sole means of communication. The BCI is this technology that they used. This
Is
was
that
from,
like a brain-computer interface?
yeah, probably. Maybe that's what it stands for. I don't know. That was said by Dr. Jonas Zimmerman, the senior neuroscientist at the Weiss Center. Quote, this study answers a long-standing question about whether people with complete locked-in syndrome who have lost all voluntary muscle control, including movement of the eyes or mouth, also lose the ability of their brain to generate commands for communication. Working with the researchers at the Weiss Center for Bio and Neuroengineering in Geneva, Switzerland, the ALS patient consented to having the brain implant fitted when he still had the ability to use eye movement to communicate back in 2018. It took 3 months of unsuccessful attempts before a configuration was achieved that allowed the patient to use the brain signals to produce a binary response to a speller program answering yes or no when presented with letters. It took another 3 weeks to produce the first sentences. And over the next year, the patient produced dozens of sentences.
Wow.
One of his earliest communications concerned his care, asking for his head to be kept in an elevated and straight position when there were visitors in the room. He also requested different kinds of food to be fed through his tubes, including goulash soup and sweet pea soup. For food, quote, for food, I want to have curry with potato, then bolognese, and potato soup, one request stated. He was also able to interact with his 4-year-old son and wife, generating the message, I love my cool son.
That's very, very cute.
You know what I love about that? I love that he, so he's deciding what to say, right? And it's coming at a very slow rate. And instead of saying, I love you or I love my son, he very specifically states, I love my cool son.
Yeah.
That's like, sweet. I think about that and I wonder if there was like a thought in his mind that was like, look, if I'm going to say something, because it's rare that I get to, I want to say something that's going to leave an imprint on this kid. So like me telling him that he's cool, I hope will make him a cool kid for like the next like 18 years,
I looked this up and actually vegetative state is actually still a clinical term.
Okay, there you go.
Persistent vegetative state, but they're locked in. It's called locked-in syndrome and vegetative state are two clinically different. And you were right. I think you said that, Bri, that the difference is that a locked-in state seems to be like a physical state.
Okay.
Whereas a vegetative state is where you don't have mental faculties, or at least you don't have full mental faculties.
Why do we say vegetative?
I think the idea,
because vegetables don't think.
I think there's another meaning for vegetative.
This was
a different definition for vegetable.
Not vegetable, vegetative.
Right, sure, but like
I think the clinical term, and this is me reaching back to like random memories as a child, and now I remember watching a movie with Denzel Washington, a horror movie. Denzel Washington,
Veggie Tales,
where he's the detective, and there's the string of murders and that he solves, and he's in like a body coma. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but that. A vegetative state, I think, is a clinical term, and then following on from a vegetative state, which is the clinical term, I think then people started to say that person is a vegetable. I think that's where that came from.
I'm going to see the definition of vegetation. Well, vegetation meaning plant life or total plant cover. The act or process of vegetating.
I think
hold on.
I think
inert existence.
Yeah.
There you go.
An abnormal growth upon a body part. Plant life or cover as of an area. Example,
guys,
the valley is green with vegetation.
I love the word vegetating.
Yeah. It feels good in the mouth.
I want to. I feel like it feels good in my body. Like I want to be vegetating.
Yeah. The research was detailed in a study published this week in the journal Nature Communications. The study titled Spelling Interface Using intracortical signals in a completely locked-in patient enabled via auditory neurofeedback training. That is a big title. Noted that the BCI communication system can be used in a patient's home, with some sessions even being performed remotely via the patient's laptop. The scientists behind the brain-computer interface, nice,
Bingo.
technology are now seeking funding to provide similar implants for other people with ALS, which will cost close to $500,000 over the first 2 years of use. That's wild. This is an important step for people living with ALS who are being cared for outside the hospital environment, said George Kuvas, Chief Technology Officer at the Weiss Center. This technology benefiting a patient and his family in their own environment is a great example of how technological advances in the BCI field can be translated to create direct impact.
That's Neuralink shit. Elon Musk.
Yeah, it is kind of Neuralink-esque.
That's what it is. He
Yeah.
makes BCI like Neuralink.
I mean, that's
is a
what
BCI.
it's considered a BCI. Yeah, right. Yeah, so I love that article. Made me feel really good, and it also made me just thirsty for a beer. So cheers to you, buddy.
Speaking of those type of,
I wonder what kind of beer he wanted.
What do you think?
He's in Switzerland. He's in Switzerland. He probably wanted like a Hefeweizen or something like that, like some kind of like wheat.
But he's
beer.
a dad, so could have been a BL.
Yeah, so BL, yeah, BL's all day, every day, baby.
Yep.
There was speaking of like other body augmentation things. There's a new mixed reality device that is a what are the things called that you put in your eyes to see? Contact lens.
Oh yeah,
and it's a contact lens computer that projects augmented reality things into your space.
I'd be an early adopter for that.
Me too, for cool. Sure.
Yeah,
but they're worried about like having a computer on your eyeball.
Oh, are they?
The
Weird.
I
Why?
know, right? It's crazy that they would care about something like that.
Well, speaking of technology and wearables, guys, have you seen what Dyson made?
No.
Oh, wait. I think I saw.
Hey, I think you would dig this.
I saw a headline about this, but
As
now
a
I can't
new
remember what
dad.
it was.
They are Dyson headphones. Okay,
Oh,
so Dyson is moving into the auditory field, but it's not just headphones. It's headphones that comes with a air vacuum for your mouth. Yo, so here's the crazy thing. Here's a video of it. Okay, it's called the Dyson Zone. Literal air purifying headphones. So this thing you wear this thing around on your head like headphones, but it's got
Wait,
this
hold on.
fucking
Is that
cool
the
cyberpunk
petty
mask.
sedate?
It's very similar to the petty sedate. So the petty sedate, which we covered on last week's episode, you put this thing over a kid's face while he's in the hospital and knocks him right out.
So funny because when I was watching that video, I was like, I've seen this before, but
I think they took a stab at this in the 90s.
It's very cyberpunk. So Dyson has taken its first step into wearable technology with an eye-catching pair of over-the-ear headphones that comes with an air-purifying mouth visor. Now, you would think that this is in response to COVID, but they started working on this fucking thing 6 years ago. This is 6 years worth of technology.
Whoa.
And
Are you serious?
Yes, and they are finally releasing it right now.
Dude, they started the pandemic.
I bet you big audio.
Big vacuum.
I feel like not enough
big
people have
vacuum
looked
starter.
into this, and I bet if they go back to Wuhan, there's a Dyson lab.
Listen, don't say don't say it too loud because the truckers might be
I
listening.
bet there's a Dyson lab in Wuhan.
Best known for vacuum cleaners, Dyson has diversified in recent years with products such as fans and a hairdryer. Actually, the hairdryer is amazing. Jeremy, my barber, uses it. It's awesome.
Whoa, wait, what is it?
It's a Dyson hairdryer.
Oh, hair dryer.
Yeah, like a blow dryer. Like a blow
Hair
dryer.
jar.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Jeremy has a hair jar, and he just collects my hair and puts it in there.
And it's powered by a vacuum.
Yeah,
So
powered
just
by
You know,
Dyson
Dyson is very much the Apple of the cleaning world.
They are.
yeah.
The headphones, dubbed Dyson Zone, are designated to tackle the growing issue of air pollution. One reviewer said they would definitely turn heads on the street. Yeah. Britta O'Boyle, deputy editor at gadget publication Pocketlint, wrote, quote, their design is certainly eye-catching. The sound quality was excellent, she told BBC News, and the headphones had a lovely construction. But as she had been unable to test the product outdoors, she could not say how effectively it would purify air or, quote, how silly you might feel wearing it.
Guys, what are the odds they were making a wearable air purifier and it was so fucking loud like a vacuum that they were like,
we gotta put something over their
we gotta
ears.
remedy this. Let's just make them headphones.
Yeah,
But
it just sounded
Dyson-
like a fucking jet engine on your face.
But Dyson is but that's Dyson's jam. They make loud things silent. That's
Listen,
their-
I'm not rich enough to own a Dyson, but are they really is a Dyson vacuum soundless?
Oh, I don't know about a vacuum, but like all their air
their fans and air purifiers and stuff are pretty silent.
Like low
The hair dryer
low
is
dBs.
definitely not silent.
Yeah.
But as so the headphones go on sale this fall. Quote, we don't expect them to be cheap, Boyle said. Obviously, Dyson's very expensive.
Can I ask a question here? Is your take on this, Jared, that this is supposed to be like sort of like wearing a mask?
Well, yeah. So you would put this on and it will purify the air around you. So I don't know where this stands up next to, like an N95 or some shit, but like the air purifiers you'd find in on an airplane or something. But my guess is that, and my guess for sure is that once COVID started, it probably kicked them into high gear in terms of like really figuring out like the particles that this thing kind of purifies and keeps out of your lungs. The noise canceling headphones come with a motor, fan, and air filters in each ear cup. Air is sucked through the filters in the ear parts. So air is sucked through the ear filters, capturing allergens and pollutants such as nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, and brake dust. And then this purified air is then channeled into the nose and mouth via the visor, which is magnetically attached to the bottom of the headphones. It is 97% effective at getting clean air to the lungs, the company says. So again, for folks who aren't watching the video, this thing looks like it looks like your regular kind of like noise canceling headphones, like big old cans. But the thing that comes across your face, it looks like a Bane mask.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It looks like Bane's just like
I was
banging
thinking
to some beats.
I was thinking Sub-Zero.
Yes.
Yeah,
there we go.
Man,
Nice.
there would have been a 0% chance of me ever buying those pre-COVID.
But now I wouldn't feel weird at all wearing that in public.
I wouldn't feel weird wearing in public now. Definitely not compared to how I would have felt 2 years ago about that.
Yeah, different.
But with that being said, it's hard to imagine what time throughout the day you'd want to go and put headphones on to listen to something and also want the air purifying effect.
Think about people who just use public transit to get to work.
Yeah.
Sitting on the subway.
Yeah.
Dude, fuck yeah. Put that thing in my face.
Yeah.
Sitting on the
I
bus,
feel like
wear it.
I feel like it is I feel like you're right in the way that you're saying that, but I feel like it's a drastically over-engineered product that the people who would benefit from it most are probably not in the economic bracket that they are going to be marketing to.
Yeah, that's true. There's 4 purification modes depending on whether the wearer is walking down a street or sitting down. The headphones use sensors to track breathing and exertion and then toggle between modes. They also come with an app that lets users specify their location and determines when the filter needs replacing. A face cover that comes with that slots into the visor. And the product has 4 hours of battery life in low filtration mode, according to Pocket Lint, or 1.5 hours in high filtration. Chief engineer Jake Dyson said, "Air pollution is a global problem that affects us everywhere we go. The Dyson Zone purifies the air you breathe in on the move. And unlike face masks, it delivers a plume of fresh air without touching your face using high-performance filters and 2 miniaturized air pumps."
Guys, you know what would be super cool? If instead of building spacesuits so that we could inhabit our planet, if we just started being more environmentally friendly and not polluting the fucking planet.
Yeah, that would help.
Dude,
Like-
we're not doing anything to the planet. We're just killing ourselves. The planet,
Yeah.
dude, the planet doesn't give a fuck about what we're doing to it. The planet's going, I'll be here.
I'll be here. Yeah.
He's
Well,
like, you
but
guys,
you
we
would-
won't.
You won't.
Sorry, not the planet. All other living species that are like what the fuck, guys?
Cockroaches aren't thinking that. Cockroaches are going, we
Thank
good.
you. Yeah.
You know,
We're here with the planet.
this could be a product that would be like, I'm thinking of, you know, it's I think it's easy to looking back on what I said earlier, but this being an over-engineered product, I think it's really easy for me to say that living in Halifax, where like pollution is really not an issue for us. In the way that like an LA,
In the way that would be in Mexico City.
or
Yeah,
Mexico
right.
City, or Beijing, or
Yeah.
you know, Ho Chi Minh, or you know, there are some cities in the world where you can walk inside from being up for a walk and pick your nose and have black come out
Yeah.
on your finger.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, here's another new technology that I'm kind of excited for. I would like to see what this looks like. There has been a breakthrough in a potential male birth control.
Oh,
So,
yes.
it's a potential non-hormonal male contraceptive pill.
This is I feel good about. I just want to say, going into this article, I feel good about this because this is Feel Good Friday, and even though we've been talking about really great technology and stuff, we've been like kind of curmudgeon-y about it, like being really cynical about
Can't
like
be
these
curmudgeon-y about
fucking
this.
air purifying headphones, whatever.
Yeah,
like
this is a
like the
long
world's
time coming.
dying. Now we got something good. I feel good about this.
It's wild to me that we're reading this and it's 2022 and we're reading that there's potentially
Totally,
a male
yeah.
birth control. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So to develop their non-hormonal male contraceptive, the researchers targeted a protein called the retinoic acid receptor alpha, known as RAR-A.
Rawr.
So RAR-A, this protein, bind retinoic acid, which is a form of vitamin A.
I mean, rah.
That plays an important role in cell growth, differentiation, including sperm formation and embryonic development. They designed and synthesized approximately 100 compounds and evaluated their ability to selectively inhibit RAR-A in cells. The team identified a compound which was named YCT529 that successfully inhibited RAR-A. When given orally to male mice for 4 weeks, YCT529 dramatically reduced sperm count and was 99% effective in preventing pregnancy without any observable side effects.
Wow.
The mice, and then the mice could father pups again 4 to 6 weeks later after they stopped receiving the compound.
Whoa, dude.
That's probably the hard part in
Yes.
terms
I
of
not just, like,
pharmaceuticals.
burning off the sperm and never having them come back.
I didn't know that mice babies were called pups. That's
so
cute.
Yeah, pups. Yeah,
That's really
it
cute.
is really cute, isn't it?
See, like
So,
this is such an awesome option because obviously, like, you know, Kyle and I just had a baby, and you know,
Totally by accident too.
we-
Like, it's so crazy. It's rare that you get a IVF baby that's accident.
yeah. Obviously, it was a very involved and intentional process, but obviously, it's not to say that we couldn't have a quote unquote natural pregnancy. But
Well,
you know, let's say if we absolutely did not want that. I mean, Kyle was on birth control for like a decade, no longer than that, like 15 years or some shit, and that's not non-hormonal, and that does have an impact on your hormone balance, and so if we were going to definitively say that we didn't want any more kids, then I would get a vasectomy, and obviously that's obviously not like the I'm not aching to have a vasectomy.
reversible, but yes,
Dude,
I'm not aching to have nut surgery. So like,
wait,
you know, I would take
really?
take this in a heartbeat.
yeah. So getting your
me
tubes
too.
tied, tubectomy or whatever it is, that's not reversible.
Do they really tie your tubes?
I actually was just talking to someone who was getting the surgery like a week ago, and she was telling me that there's 2 ways that they do it, but one of the ways is that they actually just clamp it. They literally like fold the tube, clamp it, leave the clamp in.
Shit, no way, really?
Yeah.
Like a bag clip. Like
yeah, like a chip clip.
yeah.
The banoodle. Banoodle.
Oh man, I'm going home to watch the Benoodle videos.
Oh my god, that shit's funny.
Pack of a picnic. If you don't know what we're talking about,
It's a Benoodle.
Just Google Benoodle.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the funniest thing
Yeah.
I've thought about all day.
So the last thing there is that the YCT 529 will begin testing in human clinical trials in the third or fourth quarter of this year.
Crazy.
So that, which is, that's pretty wild. Like that could mean that we could see this pill in action, in like maybe 2 or 3 years.
I would for sure take
Oh yeah.
and
male birth
it
control.
ends up being if it works, I would imagine if it's non-hormonal and with no side effects observed, I mean you would hope that would end up being the dominant form of birth control.
The pendulum would swing drastically, I would say.
Considering birth control for females is not
For a lot of people is not ideal.
It's just and it's there's lots of side effects.
Yeah. Here's an interesting little story out of right here in our home province of Nova Scotia. A bunch of healthcare providers are seeking exemptions for therapeutic training in magic mushrooms, but they're running into some red tape. Some healthcare providers in Nova Scotia want more training when it comes to using psilocybin, commonly known as magic mushrooms, man, to help treat end-of-life
Does it say
distress.
that in the article?
No.
No.
It does say commonly known as magic mushrooms, but
Okay.
it doesn't say comma man. To help treat end-of-life distress and possibly other mood disorders. But they say bureaucracy is stopping them from getting it. And that hurts providers and patients. Quote, there's a high need for this therapy among folks who are experiencing end-of-life anxiety, depression, and existential angst, says Jeff Thoth, a registered nurse and advocate for psilocybin treatment. We should see if we can get Jeff on the show.
Yeah.
Quote, at this point, not having therapists who are trained in this modality, it's limiting patient access. Thoth, along with 15 other healthcare providers in the province, recently entered a psilocybin training course, but they won't be able to finish it without an exemption from Health Canada. The exemption permits people to take psilocybin, which is considered illegal, in a safe and supervised setting based on medical or research needs. In January, Health Canada changed it so that the onus is on the person's physician to apply for the exemption through Health Canada's Special Access Program and then secure a Health Canada-approved synthesized version of the drug. To consider an exemption, Health Canada requires the physician to show their patient has, quote, serious or life-threatening conditions and requires psilocybin for the purpose of emergency treatment. Charlene Sleeman, a spokesperson with Health Canada, said the department has notified 137 healthcare professionals that it intends to refuse the request since the change. Quote, there has been an unfair regional disparity with the government approving exemptions for folks on the West Coast, said Thoth. There haven't been any clinicians who've been approved east of Montreal, and so that's setting up an unfair precedent. Sleeman said since granting some one-year exemptions to healthcare professionals in 2020, Health Canada undertook further consultations. It concluded that clinical trials are the best approach for healthcare professionals who wish to improve their knowledge of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy.
Can I just clarify? So, based on the rules, you need to be experiencing as a patient experiencing this angst or extreme, whatever these extreme conditions are that would allow you to get the exemption to take psilocybin. But the providers who are taking this course, they want to get the exemption so that they can sample it, so that they can be educated and sort of like guide or administer these types of care,
or even suggest that the patient,
right? They want to experience it first.
Like that's what Anne did.
That's right.
And she did it in the US. She did it in
But they're being
Maryland
denied
or something.
She did it at MAPS,
So
I believe.
Yeah.
So they do not meet the requirements by Health Canada because they're not the patients experiencing these extreme conditions that would lead to this exemption.
Yeah. So healthcare professionals interested in using psilocybin or other psychedelics for training purposes can explore whether they can participate in this trial or apply for their own clinical trial, said Sleeman from Health Canada. But Thoth said that that's the problem. There aren't any clinical trials in the province, and he said it isn't clear how to even start one. Quote, Health Canada hasn't offered any specific criteria, Thoth said. They've said in a more generic way that they're recommending that we go through clinical trials for it, but there's no real framework for that to even happen. As of January, Health Canada approved only one clinical trial that examines the safety of administering psilocybin to healthy participants who are enrolled in a psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy training program. We are at this administrative roadblock, said Thoth. Quote, I think it needs to be more, it needs a bit more imagination. And I think it needs more and more input from healthcare providers on how to optimize the pathway. The course that Thoth is looking to take is offered by TheraPsil, which is the small nonprofit group that aims to help Canadians access legal psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy, which we've talked to one of the physicians that is heading up TheraPsil. Dave Phillips, a course trainer, said the experiential aspect is integral to the training. Quote, it's very clear to us, people in the field, that because we're working with an altered state, that the practitioner themselves have to have their own experience with being in an altered state, said Phillips, a registered clinical counselor with more than 3 decades of experience specializing in psychological health and safety, trauma, and PTSD. He said
It's kind of like a chicken or the egg situation, right? Like in the way that, you know, if you've taken mushrooms or had psilocybin, like, you know that it's really impossible to express the experience without the person to a person who hasn't had the experience.
Yeah.
And so, like, trying to explain to a government body that step is necessary in order to, like, effectively administer and help and treat people who benefit from it.
We wouldn't do that with chemo, right? Like, we wouldn't be like, well, I'm going to be giving chemo to this cancer patient, so I better take it just to see what it feels like.
I was thinking that too. But it is also interesting because, I mean, so obviously from my opinion is that it should just be, they should be able to do this. But I also think, like, if I was in that position, I would be like, well, you know, I can't legally apply to take this course, but I know a guy who has mushrooms that I can go and get. And so, because really,
I know Jerry.
Like, at the end of the day.
But the important part, Brian, is that is probably that there's actually a framework set up.
Yes, I know, totally. And I appreciate that. Like, I understand. And again, like, I think that it should be that way.
Yeah.
But also, if I was going to go through with, and I had never had an experience like that, but I saw it as an opportunity to treat a patient who, you know, needed this sort of, like, extraordinary help, I guess, I would probably be, I'd probably go and get psilocybin myself.
Phillips from TheraPsil said that those in the training will be required to take 5 grams or more, because that is generally what the patient taking psilocybin
that is a lot, though.
would need. I think what was the guy's name that we had on, who was the first Canadian patient that
Tom,
got it?
Thomas.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Tom had 7 grams.
A hero's dose.
Yeah, quite heroic.
That's a hero plus.
Yeah, that's the hero's journey right there. Thoth and 12 of the other denied healthcare providers have sent a letter to Canada's health minister, Jean-Yves Desclos. They hope to have their exemptions reconsidered in order to complete their training. Quote, in situations where there's a medical treatment available that will reduce disease and that does not have a negative impact on public safety, the government doesn't have the option and has to grant the exemption. So we're optimistic that the government will follow the law there, said Nicholas Pope of Hamid Law, the firm that helped the group draft the letter. Pope said that if the exemptions aren't granted, he will take the case to federal court for review.
Sweet.
So,
God, there's
bunch of folks in Nova Scotia doing the right thing.
There's just such a disconnect between, like,
Government,
what some things do and what people say or think they do. It's just
the thing that drives me
just fucking crazy.
It's
The
kind of
thing
infuriating.
that drives me crazy, though, is, like, is even just saying, like, that's the government, or, like, that's that body or whatever. Like, the reality is that the government or that department is made up of human beings, and, like, it's frustrating that like the people responding to these letters, the people that are ultimately making these decisions are real human beings. And so like that's the thing that I find it hard to believe. Like it feels like there's personal biases and like
Well, yeah.
subjectivity
there's so
in
much-
reviewing this thing,
That's all this
which is like
Yeah.
which is
There's
really
so much
frustrating about
history.
it.
There's so much history and ingrained groupthink and and just going back to you can go back decades and decades to the types of disinformation campaigns about certain things that were and when you start to talk about it, it sounds very conspiracy-esque, conspiracy theory-esque in terms of like, but if there are things like, and this is something that we touched on when we talked about Thomas's experience, is
Thomas Hartle. That was his name. Thomas Hartle.
yeah. If somebody is going through if somebody is in end stage cancer and they've got an anxiety about the fact that their life is coming to an end in the not too distant future, and that is destroying their quality of life until that end eventually comes, and there is something that they can experience like an experience of psilocybin, and have that maybe once, maybe a few times, and have that completely change the way that they see the world through their eyes, instead of a drug that gets taken every day and is re-upped all the time. And like it's not conspiracy thinking to realize that there are obvious incentives for there to be for people to kick up dust about something like psilocybin and why it shouldn't be used. Like that's not a stretch by any means.
The thing that blows my mind though is if you imagine that there was an island with like 10 people on it, and they had there was no structures or rules of society like there are today, and these 10 people were just living on this island, and one person came across a magic mushroom and ate it and had this like spiritual awakening, like a really profound experience. How do you get to the point where somebody who hasn't had that experience starts to create a rule on that island where nobody else is allowed to
That's government, dude.
have that experience? I know, but like, doesn't it just isn't it baffling?
That's all. That's all due to the invention of agriculture. It all stems back to that.
Do you think though,
ownership?
Like, does it feel like I can only imagine that the people making these decisions just haven't done mushrooms before.
No, yeah. I think most of them haven't.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. Yeah.
Or if they have, they haven't done it. They haven't done it in a way that they could have done.
But what are they afraid of then?
Well, I mean,
themselves.
Dude. They're afraid that everyone's just gonna like go crazy and steal
again,
and rape.
like it's a science. Like, what does the science show? Is there risks associated with this?
Yeah.
Oh no, there's no reported
Dude,
risks.
nobody
associated
cares
with,
about the science.
but that's fucking crazy to me.
I know.
Well, here's some science that people definitely should care about. This is a part of this week's edition of What the Hell? Microplastic pollution has been discovered lodged deep in the lungs of living people for the first time.
Yeah, no. Well, can we skip this?
Dude, this is fucking wild. The particles were found in almost all of the samples analyzed.
Oh no, I don't want to know anything about this.
What's the significant? Can you repeat the headline again? And
microplastic pollution has been discovered lodged deep in the lungs of a living person for the first time.
Oh, so meaning that up until this point, you would expect to find it more like superficially?
Well, the scientists said microplastic pollution was now ubiquitous across the planet, making human exposure unavoidable and meaning, quote, there is an increasing concern regarding the hazards to health. Samples were taken from tissue removed from 13 patients undergoing surgery, and microplastics were found in 11 cases out of the 13. The most common particles were polypropylene, used in plastic packaging and pipes, and PET, used in bottles.
Dude, how is that shit getting in our lungs?
It's plastic, man.
Being
It's like it's
burned.
getting into
Like,
everything because it's in everything. It's everywhere.
Probably being
getting into our
burnt and then-
sperm.
We're just breathing.
It's just seeping into us.
I mean, think about all the bottles that are like that have to advertise that they don't have BPA in them.
That they don't.
But
leach.
how's it getting around?
It's like, well,
Man,
if BPA doesn't get out of the bottle, then why would it even matter? It's like, well, it obviously matters because it does get out of the bottle and into you.
Right.
2 previous studies have found that microplastics at similarly high rates in lung tissue had been taken during autopsies. People were already known to breathe in the tiny particles as well as consuming them via food and water. Workers exposed to high levels of microplastics are also known to have developed disease. Microplastics were detected in human blood for the first time in March, showing the particles can travel around the body and may lodge in organs. The impact on health is yet unknown. I'm guessing it's going to be bad. But researchers are concerned as microplastics can cause damage to human cells in the laboratory, and air pollution particles are already known to enter the body and cause millions of early deaths a year. Quote, we did not expect to find the highest number of particles in the lower regions of the lungs or particles of the sizes we found, said Laura Sadowski at Hull York Medical School in the UK, a senior author of the study. Quote, it is surprising as the airways are smaller in the lower parts of the lungs, and we would have expected particles of these sizes to be filtered out or trapped before getting this deep. The data provides an important advance in the field of air pollution, microplastics, and human health, she said. The information could be used to create realistic conditions for laboratory experiments to determine health impacts.
Suddenly
Right.
those Dyson fucking headphones
Sound like a bad idea, right?
No, they're
Right.
sounding fucking great to me.
Right.
No, man, I bet you they're rifling the plastics into you.
Dude,
no, they're
right.
cleaning them first.
Further
Cleaning
to our conversation about just before this about why in the hell are there people that are trying to that are seeing psilocybin through this like negative lens that it's bad and it should. Dude, right now there is somebody working on a strategy to convince somebody why microplastics in your lungs is actually a good thing.
No, there's not.
And why trying to reduce the amount of microplastics that we're getting into our is actually the negative route.
Big
Like
Nalgene?
there's somebody Big Nalgene's out there working on it right now. Well, we're gonna that's probably in our defamation training. We weren't supposed to say that. But there you know what I'm saying? Like there's bad there's bad shit out there, and there are people that are paid lots
to
of
make
money.
sure that bad shit doesn't change.
I like to, guys, in my version of the world, I like to think of nobody being bad. I just like to think
Unfortunately,
everybody's
there's
good.
a lot of bad people. A U.S. study of lung cancer patients in 98 found plastic and plant fibers, such as cotton, in more than 100 samples. In cancerous tissue, 97% of samples contained the fibers, and non-cancerous samples, 83% were contaminated. Huge amounts of plastic waste are dumped into the environment, and microplastics contaminate the entire planet, from the summit of Mount Everest to the deepest oceans. Microplastics have been found in the placentas of pregnant women, and in pregnant rats, they pass rapidly through the lungs into the heart, brains, and other organs of the fetuses. A recent review assessed cancer risk and concluded, quote, more detailed research on how micro and nanoplastics affect these structures and processes of the human body.
This is too much for Brian.
Mostly because I don't even know what the fuck a microplastic is. Can we really just dig into this for a second? Like, what is a micro or nanoplastic?
I mean, nanoplastics are even smaller.
I feel like this is a thing made up by the government to control us.
Microplastics,
like COVID?
Microplastics are small plastic pieces less than 5 millimeters long, which can be harmful to our ocean and aquatic
But
life.
what is
Here's a microplastic. You know when you put your toothpaste on your toothbrush, it's got all those little beads. That's microplastic.
Huh?
The beads in some of those like tartar fighting toothpastes.
Guys,
has like
I use Tom's. So.
Yeah. So you probably you're only getting nanoplastics from the Toms from the bottle that it's in.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm not joking. Microbeads, like that's polyurethane or polyethylene.
propanol.
Polyethylene. plastic added to health and beauty products such as toothpaste. And
Wow, that's
cleansers.
crazy.
Like
Why?
if Maddie uses like actually I saw it in your bathtub when I was staying at your place the other night. Exfoliant, like
Yeah.
face exfoliant,
Yeah.
all that stuff that exfoliates, that's
Yeah.
like microplastics.
Wait, okay, but they get stuck in your body. Like we thought.
Yeah.
So all these companies that are using these things, it was like, hey, it's cool that we use these because even if they go into your body, you'll just pass them through and whatever. It doesn't.
Well, I
No
mean,
big deal.
that's what they're
Like, is that what the thought was?
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they're-
totally, yeah. Plastic is the most prevalent type of marine debris found in our ocean and Great Lakes. Plastic debris can come in all shapes and sizes, but those that are less than 5 millimeters in length are called microplastics. As an emerging field of study, not a lot is known about microplastics and their impacts. The NOAA Marine Debris Program is leading efforts within NOAA to research this topic. Standardized field methods for collecting sediment and sand and surface water microplastic samples have been developed and continue to undergo testing. Eventually, field and laboratory protocols will allow for global comparisons of the amount of microplastics released into the environment, which is the first step to determining the final distribution, impacts, and fate of this debris.
I guess the thing that I need to know for this to hit home even more for me.
So here you go. Microplastics come from a variety of sources, including from larger plastic debris that degrades into smaller pieces.
Okay.
In addition, microbeads, a type of microplastic, are found very tiny pieces of manufactured polyethylene plastic that are added to exfoliants, to health and beauty products, such as some cleaners and toothpastes. These tiny particles easily pass through water filtration systems and end up in the ocean, posing great potential threat to aquatic life. Microbeads are not a recent problem. According to the United Nations Environment Program, plastic microbeads first appeared in personal care products about 50 years ago, with plastics increasingly replacing natural ingredients. As recently as 2012, this issue was still relatively unknown, with an abundance of products containing plastic microbeads on the market and not a lot of awareness on the part of the consumer. So it's been fucking everywhere.
So wait, how much of this do you think is like our choices in the products that we use? Like are it sounds almost like
I'd say almost 100%.
It sounds like fucking every product uses it. So like,
I mean,
just
this is
totally
like
avoid using those
it's like
things,
the-
or
It's like the and you know I was joking when I said I used I was joking around when I said I use Tom's, but I do use Tom's and for toothpaste, and like Kyla is like really sort of like in the know about being really picky about the kind of products that we buy, and like deodorants and shit like that, because there's so many products that are made with ingredients that, because whether they're either cheap to use those ingredients or they're highly effective for the job that they're supposed to do, instead of being actually healthy for you, like, you know, make your armpits not smell. Like making your armpits not smell is not the same as giving you healthy armpits, for example. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of products that have this shit in them that is that just makes it cheaper to manufacture or whatever. So then that ends up being the choice of the ingredients.
And then think about, like, if you ever eat seafood, right? So these microplastics are just coating the fucking ocean. And you go and you have your sushi and you eat some tuna. Well, that tuna is probably riddled with microplastics. That's probably one of the ways it's getting into your system. One of trillions of ways it's getting into you. You know?
Dude, like with us having a baby and like all the shit that you can, put on the baby's skin, or all the clothes that you can buy for a baby, like Kyla can speak to it a lot better than I can, but there are just so many things that are made for a baby that are just horrific for them to have on them.
Yeah.
Just brutal. But they are oftentimes the biggest and most popular brand name products most
affordable. Or
okay,
whatever.
so
right, yeah, which is why they're affordable, because they're the biggest brand.
Right.
They have the pricing power to make things cheap.
So general rule of thumb: don't buy things from Instagram ads.
That's a start.
That's a
start.
good start.
Okay.
Yeah, which actually I got a gift coming for the baby. I bought it on an Instagram ad, and
Is it coming? Is it?
I don't know. I might have been scammed, so we'll find out probably in like a year.
No.
If I don't get it in a year,
No.
then I wasted.
Yeah.
I wasted the money.
They're legit. It just takes 8 to 12 months to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's coming from a long way.
Listen, this was that what the health is a big bummer. So to turn things around, I'm going to ask that you bring the baby onto the screen.
Okay. Yep, I can do that. Just making sure she wasn't on the teat.
Okay. Let's do a hard
Oh,
cut right here.
Here we go. This is going to be so good. Taylor's standing up. He's walking off screen.
On YouTube, I'm just going to cut all this bit.
Go to YouTube, folks. You can go to YouTube, watch our videos, our Feel Good Friday videos on YouTube. You can see this fucking baby that's about to come on the screen.
I'll cut the whole bit with the baby in it.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Zaya.
Aww.
Hello, Zaya.
Look at her.
Oh, yeah. Don't drop her, Taylor. Don't drop her.
Whoa.
Oh,
What shit,
She's
dude?
balancing on
I
your
can't believe
lap.
you didn't support her neck.
He doesn't support her neck, dude. We were on the fucking Zoom call last night
I know.
with our
he's, like,
patrons,
fucking
and
swinging
he
her
was just
around.
like, they're like bobbling her head
That was
around.
crazy when he was holding her upside down by the feet.
Oh, look at that. She looks good in
Oh.
green. You look so good. Look how
Green shirt
sweet you
day.
are.
It's
Oh my
green
God,
shirt
dude.
day.
She doesn't even look real. Look at that little fucking thing. Dude, that came out of your nuts. Isn't that wild?
That's super sweet. And a needle.
Oh, what a little baby boo. What a little baby boo. She's so sweet.
Hold her right up to the camera.
Yeah. Get real close. Real close.
Let's get some microplastics.
I want to be able to smell her.
Dude, she looks like a porcelain doll. It's crazy. Oh, little tiny.
She can't see shit.
She can't see shit, dude. Yeah. She doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Man, I fucking love Zaya.
Yeah, she's cute.
What a cute little baby.
Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And thanks for listening. If you want to support the podcast, you can go over to YouTube and watch our Feel Good Friday episodes every Friday.
Yeah, hopefully you support the podcast more than Taylor supports his baby's neck.
You can also join the Discord. We have conversations happening about episodes, and you can contribute to Feel Good Friday, or you can update your Wordle scores. Guys, I lost my first Wordle this week.
What?
My first
Like you didn't
loss.
get it, you mean?
Yeah, my first loss.
You know, I
Yeah.
actually knew that you did because you texted me and said, I'm just doing Wordle or something. And then you didn't post it in the Discord. And I was like,
Yeah.
I probably lost.
You
it."
lost.
Yeah. I thought it was because I texted you and said I don't want to be around anymore. I was really sad. I was fucking sad, dude. That streak was going long.
I've lost
I was
one, too.
like
It's-
60 days straight and
Right.
lost. So you can do that, or you could leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, or of course use your Spotify mobile app to leave a rating of the podcast. We'd really love that.
And if you want to send us a letter, I'm thinking this week, if you want to tell us about what your favorite microplastic product is that you use and that you should not use any longer, you can let us know about what that is and what you intend to do to change that. You can do that by sending that to letters@sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to sickboypodcast.com/contact.
It would be really nice if you just joined our Discord server and contributed to the Feel Good Friday recommendations so that we could talk about some stuff that's really makes us feel good.
Yeah,
rather
be
than
a
things
be a
that just
co-pro.
bum us out. And the link for that's in the description. And also thanks to our manager, Jeff Lonis, to Rich O'Coin for the theme music. Thank you so much, guys. We love you.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.